The movies never tell you how quiet it really was. Not the kind of quiet where nothing happens, but the kind where something is happening, slowly, just out of sight, and you don't realize it until much later. When people hear the name Annabelle, they think of screaming, dark rooms, possessed dolls. That's not what this was. What really happened was smaller, slower, and somehow worse, because it happened in ordinary homes, with normal people, in places that were supposed to be safe. This isn't a story I ever planned to tell publicly. For a long time, I tried to convince myself it wasn't worth revisiting, that it was just stress, coincidence, bad neighbors. But the truth is, once you see how easily fear slips into daily life, you don't ever fully forget it. If you appreciate real stories like this, stories that don't rely on cheap shock, but on things that could actually happen, consider subscribing. Not because this channel needs it, but because these stories deserve to be remembered the right way. Back then, everything started in a neighborhood that looked like a brochure. Tree-lined streets, identical mailboxes, kids riding bikes until dinner. The kind of place where people waved, but didn't really talk. That was normal. Privacy was respected. At least, that's what we thought. The house belonged to a young nursing student named Donna. She lived with her roommate, Angie, both in their early 20s, both working long shifts and sleeping odd hours. I knew them through a friend of a friend. I'd been over a few times movie nights, late dinners, nothing special. The apartment was small, second floor, beige walls, old carpet. Safe. Boring. The doll arrived as a gift. Donna told me her mother found it at a local shop and thought it was cute. A vintage Raggedy Ann doll. Red, yarn, hair, soft fabric body. No cracked porcelain, no dead eyes. Just a simple, smiling face. The kind of thing you'd see sitting on a shelf in a child's room. They placed it on Donna's bed. That was the first mistake, though no one knew it yet. At first, nothing felt wrong. The doll stayed where it was. Donna would joke about it sometimes, saying it felt like someone was watching her when she studied. Angie laughed it off. So did I. People say things like that all the time. Late nights mess with your head, but then it started moving. Not dramatically, not in a way that made anyone scream. Just small changes. The doll would be sitting upright when Donna swore she left it lying down, or it would be on the couch instead of the bed. They blamed each other. That happens too. Two roommates, busy schedules. Then notes began appearing, handwritten messages on scraps of paper. Help me. Help us. The handwriting looked childish, uneven. Donna was shaken by that. She didn't keep scrap paper like that in the apartment. Angie didn't either. For a while, they convinced themselves someone was pranking them. Maybe a friend had a spare key. Maybe maintenance. They didn't call the police. Most people don't. Not when things feel small and explainable. The first time I felt something was truly off was when Donna called me late one night. Her voice was tight, like she was trying not to panic. She said she woke up and the doll was gone. Not missing. Just not where it belonged. They found it later, propped up in the living room, facing the hallway, sitting upright, like it had been placed carefully. Angie hadn't touched it. Neither had Donna. That night, neither of them slept. Here's the part the movies skip. Nothing supernatural happened next. No levitation. No voices. No shadows on the walls. What happened instead was human. A neighbor complained. A man from the building across the courtyard started knocking on their door, asking strange questions. Asking if they'd lost something, if they'd heard noises at night. He was polite. Too polite. Always smiling, always lingering just a little too long in the doorway. They told themselves he was just awkward, but after that, things escalated. The notes stopped appearing, but the feeling of being watched didn't. Donna started noticing her blinds slightly open when she knew she'd closed them. Angie found fingerprints on the outside of the bedroom window, smudged, partial prints, like someone had tested the glass. Still, no police. People don't want to believe their fear is justified. One night, Angie woke up to a noise in Donna's room. Fabric shifting. She stood in the doorway and saw the doll sitting on Donna's chest. Donna was asleep. When Angie screamed, the doll fell to the floor. They told themselves someone must have broken in and left. That explanation felt safer than the alternatives. The next day, they found the fire escape outside their window had fresh scuff marks. That's when they contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. Not because they believed in demons, but because they didn't know who else to call. The Warrens didn't come in preaching. They listened, asked questions, observed. They noticed things others hadn't. This is the same apartment, the same night, the same people. Donna is the same nurse from before, wearing the same nurse uniform. No glasses, no changes to her appearance. Angie is still her roommate, standing beside her, exactly as before. Nothing has reset. Nothing has changed. The fear has simply followed them into what comes next. This continues with the exact same people, in the same clothes, in the same apartment, without interruption or alteration. The unlocked window, the fire escape access, the neighbor who watched too closely. They said something that never made it into the movies. They said the doll wasn't the danger. People? Where? They explained that fear creates blind spots, that when people focus on an object, they ignore the behavior around them, and that sometimes dangerous individuals exploit that. The doll was removed, not exorcised. Removed. After that, the notes stopped completely, but the neighbor didn't. Donna noticed him watching from his window at night. Angie found scratches on her door. One evening, the man knocked and asked if they'd seen his toy. They called the police. It turned out the man had a history. Trespassing, obsession, fixation on young women. He'd been entering their apartment through the fire escape when they slept. The doll had been moved by him. The notes had been written by him. He liked watching them react. That's the part people don't like to hear. The fear wasn't paranormal. It was personal. After he was arrested, the apartment felt wrong. Even in daylight, Donna moved out. Angie transferred schools. The doll was locked away not because it was cursed, but because it represented how close danger had been. Years later, Donna told me she still checks her windows before sleeping, still feels uneasy when something in her home is out of place. Trauma doesn't vanish when the threat is gone. That's the real Annabelle story. Not a demon in a doll, but a reminder that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it smiles, sometimes it waits. Sometimes it hides behind your assumptions. If this story stayed with you, share it. Not to scare people, but to remind them to trust their instincts. And if you've ever had a neighbor, a roommate, or a situation that felt wrong in ways you couldn't explain, tell us about it in the comments. Those stories matter more than we admit.